right, welcome, gentlemen. Today I'm going to be talking about something that's better than ever. That's going to be transplants. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Now then, the first thing that I want to talk about is why it's been so unsuccessful. Previous to the 19th century, we really didn't have a lot of successful transplantation research or actual practice of transplantation. There are three reasons. The first of those three reasons is the fact that the organ was consistently rejected by the recipient. Basically, what happens in that is the immune system actually attacks the organ, kills it, and it loses function, and the recipient dies in the process. The next problem is the fact that blood vessel fusion was really not well developed. We didn't know a lot about it, and the organ was unable to actually receive blood flow, receive nutrients and oxygen in the process of that, and continue its bodily function to where the recipient could continue functioning at normal levels. The final of the three reasons is the fact that there was actually not a lot of equipment or knowledge in the area of transplantation. We didn't know about the previous two things and a bunch of other stuff, and we didn't have the equipment or whereabouts to actually successfully complete a transplantation. Now then, let's kind of dive into the history, which actually occurred in about the late 1900s, or 1800s, I should say, early 1900s. We can't really talk about transplantation without giving credit to Dr. Alexis Carrel, who's considered the father of anastomosis. He was actually the person who developed the three-point end-to-end vessel anastomosis process. For his research, he was actually given the Nobel Prize in 1912 in physiology or medicine. Now then, this research actually helped us be able to begin the process of research for transplantation. Now then, directly after he really discovered this, there was actually kind of a lost era of transplantation where we really don't have a lot of research or much progression in transplantation that can actually be considered credible, if you will. And so we really don't really have anything in between that period, essentially. However, directly after that, and about the year 1926, we have a guy named Thomas Earl Starzl. He is considered the father of transplantation. The reason why he's considered the father of transplantation is because he actually is technically the guy who allowed the organ to be successfully transplanted into the body without it being rejected. And so this is actually called immunology. He's, however, not really considered the first immunologist. There's actually a guy named, his name is George Schoen. He's actually considered the first immunologist, but not officially, because he was kind of during the lost era of transplantation. So the next thing we'll kind of get into is the present times. How have we progressed? Why are we safer? What are some things that we have to look at to be able to say that it's better than ever? The first thing that we'll go ahead and talk about is it's safer. Basically, people are living longer, healthier lives as a result of all the research that's progressed through the 20th century. And it's allowed us to successfully complete transplantations. People can live more normal lives at the very least. And I mean, the numbers are pretty staggering. It's pretty amazing to look at the success rate at which transplantations have occurred. Now then, the thing is, it's not a permanent solution. Obviously, people will still receive diseases, and there's other issues that can occur after these processes. Obviously, every person is different. Every person medically is different. Every body part is different. Certain things might have different functions and have certain lifespans. Things like that can occur, and so it's not a permanent solution, but it's the best solution we have at the moment. Obviously, research is continuing to develop. We're finding more and more solutions to the problem of health and safety when it comes to medical research. Now then, the next thing I want to talk about with you real quick is the fact that we actually have really developed with our research in transplanting the organ from the donor, essentially, to the recipient. This is a pretty important process because if the organ dies in between this the transport period, then basically the transplant is going to be unsuccessful because they can't actually put it in the body because it's dead. It can't function, can't really help the recipient. And so that's pretty important. But we've really developed a lot of equipment that can actually help with that. We'll get more into that later, but first, real quick, I do want to bring up the fact that more people are aware of transplants. And so that's pretty important for us to be able to know and be aware that transplants are out there. There's a huge waiting list out there, but it's starting to diminish because more people are aware of it, willing to donate organs when they can, and when they're matched. We see blood drives, bone marrow drives, tons of basically people going out there and donating and giving things so that people can live better lives as a result of that. So we're going to kind of dive into the future, actually. Now that we've talked about the past, the present, let's go and dive into the future and see where we're progressing. What's next? The first thing I want to talk about, going back to that transplant period where the organ's being transported, from the donor to the recipient. There's actually a pretty cool device. It's called the OCS Heart Portable Perfusion Monitoring. And so the thing about this little nifty device is it actually allows you to plug in. It's obviously a heart. It's kind of just used for the heart right now, and so they're trying to dive into other organs and stuff. But right now it's just essentially a heart device. But basically they plug in a bunch of tubes, and they can actually get blood flowing through the heart, keep the heart beating, so that the radius at which you can donate a heart has increased. So people around the world can now receive heart transplants from someone who's all the way across the globe. It's pretty amazing. And so we're really going far with this. However, the only problem is it's not actually available in America. It's still undergoing medical investigation. So they're still trying to make sure that it's safe in America. But it's available in Europe and Australia. Now then, the last thing I'm going to go and talk about is cryonics. Basically, cryonics is where you freeze the some sort of organism down to the cellular level. So it can't move, can't really do anything. It's just there. Nothing can really touch it or hurt it. And so kind of the idea behind this is that maybe we can freeze organs, down to the cellular level. They can't die, they can't grow, bacteria can't get to it to harm it. And we can start a organ bank, which would be amazing because the waiting list is exceedingly long. Obviously, we're finding many ways to improve this process, including the heart monitor. But yeah, it's just another step in the right direction. Thank you so much for listening to me, guys. Have a nice day.